Let's bring in Dennis Lin right now, Padres beat reporter for the Union Tribune San Diego. Dennis, give us your thoughts now. Look, Kemp, Upton, Myers, Derek Norris, and James Shields. How good are these guys?
You know, I think a few years from now, we might be watching a Hollywood movie about this offseason that A.J. Preller has had. He's taken some big risks, some big gambles, but I think the floor has been raised, not only by Shields and Kemp and all those guys, but I think he's not done yet. I mean, there's a lot of starting pitchers on this roster right now. You never know when A.J. Preller's going to strike. He usually operates under the cover of night, so we could have some more acquisitions coming.
Yeah, Dennis, you can't sleep. It's been a rough offseason for you. Hey, you're well aware of this pitching staff. Pitching was not the issue last year, Dennis, for the Padres. How good is this staff now, or does it get masked somewhat because they do play in a pitcher's park?
You know, I think these guys, the guys who have been here, Cashner and Ross, have a lot of potential. They need to prove it. Ross has that all-star under his belt. Cashner needs to prove he can stay healthy. But with Shields, you really add a guy who guarantees you 200 innings. You got Ian Kennedy for that as well. But it really solidifies the top of the rotation. And for them to compete in the NL West, I really think this is one of the final pieces to kind of get them into, wild card contention or something beyond that.
Yeah, look, again, Cashner, Ross, Ian Kennedy is there, Brendan Morrow's there. It's a quality rotation. Dennis Lin is with us. Dennis, stay right there. We'll get back to you in a moment. There's more Padres news on the way, but I want to bring it back to the panel for a second here. Joel, at a certain point, look, you can say, well, Kemp, maybe, maybe not. Upton is high qualities there 1 year. Myers, maybe, maybe not. Norris is good. But now you're adding 5, 6 guys like that, what we call in the sabermetric world 3 to 4 win players. Well, at a certain point, you're going to compete. Are we thinking this?
Well, they're much better today, but I'll tell you what I think some of the monkey wrenches are. They're extraordinarily right-handed. Right now, their shortstop Amarista, their first base Alonso, those are the only lefty hitters in their everyday lineup. And what got lost because they scored so few runs last year is they gave up their fewest runs in their history last year in a 162-game season. Part of that was about defense. Their 2 catchers, Rene Rivera was number 2 in catcher framing strikes in the major leagues last year. Yasmani Grandal was number 6. Interestingly, one went to Tampa Bay. The other went to the old Tampa Bay general manager at the Dodgers, right? That's where those 2 guys are. Right. Derek Norris was 84th out of 199 guys. He's behind the plate. They're going to try to play Will Myers in center field, something Tampa Bay never tried to do. Right. Their middle infield is at best average. So Shields is not a big-time strikeout guy. He gets strikeouts, but not a big-time strikeout guy. Their defense is not going to be very good, but I would listen to something Dennis said. I think there's another trade there. I wouldn't be surprised if Will Myers even ended up someplace else and they ended up with a real center fielder at some point.
I think that's, to me, that's a big key because, you look at the way their outfield is structured right now. I mean, and they have a ton of other outfielders that are sort of on their depth chart that they can get rid of if they need to. But their outfield defense is totally different.
And defense really matters. I mean, something we talk about, it's not just like being put together.
Especially in a big ballpark. Correct. They got a lot of ground to cover in that outfield.
It does matter, but they hit 171 as a team in June last year, so they had to get some bats, which they did. They paid for it with some of their defense, absolutely. But when you look at this team, they look a lot like the 2013 Braves, who pitched it, very stingy, hit the ball out of the ballpark, and won 96 games. I'm not saying they're going to win 96, but I'm saying that's how they're going to try to get it done.
No, that's how they're going to try to get it done. Put it in the bank, 96.
But the thing that would worry me is they also look like the 2014 Braves. They went back the other ways. It's the same kind of team. And Mark Shapiro from the Indians once said something to me. When you're trying to improve, you could do one of 2 things. You could try to score more or give up less. They figured out how to score more. Are they going to give up the same amount as last year, or is this defense going to give away a lot of runs?
That's a good point. We'll get back to the Padres in a second. Let's go back to Dennis Lin for a moment because Yoan Moncada is back in the news. He's the 19-year-old infielder from Cuba, and we are told that the Padres are in on this as well. Dennis, what are you hearing about Yoan Moncada and the Padres?
I think 2 weeks ago, no one thought James Shields was possible, and I think we're starting to learn our lesson that, with A.J. Preller, you can never rule anything out, and the funny thing with this offseason is so far he's kind of really dealt in the major league level, acquired all these guys, Kemp, Upton, Myers, Shields, but we haven't really seen him kind of delve into the international market yet, which is where he's really came in known for. I have heard that they're not scared off by the prospect of potentially adding someone of his caliber and then not having the financial flexibility for the next 2 signing periods. So that's something they'll look at. I think with these new owners, they've made the commitment to spend money, and if they really like Yoán Moncada, I think there's going to be a lot of conversation around San Diego and the Cuban kid.
Dennis, yeah, before we let you go, spending's going way up. What is the mandate from ownership? Where they went from, they were at $67 million in 2013, about $86 to $90 million last year. Now it looks like they're going to be over $110 million. They're getting in that good spending area, like the Brewers and the Nationals, teams that are really spending money. What is the mandate from ownership?
They've given AJ a lot of flexibility to do stuff, obviously, but right now I think it's really hard to set in stone what it's going to end up at payroll. Payroll right now is probably a little over $100 million. It came up from 89 with the Shield signing, but right now they're still not done. I think there's still room to add a little more, maybe not quite the level of James Shields, but we're probably going to see them zoom past 100.
All right, Dennis Lin, again, Padres beat reporter for the Union Tribune San Diego. Dennis, thank you so much.